Well, folks, welcome back to Allergic to Stupidity. It is a lovely Wednesday, May the 21st. We are 2/3 of the way through May, and it's time for a cup of coffee. Sort of. My name is Bev. This is my YouTube channel where I get to yell and vent and scream about the various things that are stupidly happening in this world right now. Some of them provincially, some of them federally, some of them internationally. I try to avoid Donald Trump. It doesn't always succeed, but I do try to avoid him. But if you're enjoying what you hear, if you enjoy listening to this old face talk about things, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and please share, especially if I say something that you think somebody else would really enjoy seeing or talking about. I know I did one on a trade agreement between Canada, Australia, and New Zealand and the UK, and like the amount of likes and the amount of shares on that one and views on that just blew me away. And I'm trying to see if there's any more information on that because obviously people were interested in it. But today's event is aimed at mental health and our teenagers. So whether you are working with youth or whether you have youth, teenagers in your family or even younger than that, let's watch their mental health because there is so much on the plate right now that they are getting bombarded from that they haven't developed the skills. Lots of us adults haven't either on how to deal with it, and it just takes them down farther and farther down the rabbit hole, and they are clicking out, they are tuning out because they're going on the I can't fix this, there is nothing I can do because it's so overwhelming. And one of them is, which makes me laugh because I've had to teach this, is finance. In the curriculum now for grade 9, 10, 11, there is a financial unit that the students have to do. And some of it, it's like, okay, it's interest rates and compound interest and things like that. And I haven't got a problem teaching that, like, because it's mathematical. And just so you understand what compound interests are and regular interest is and all the rest of it. And, you know, what are shares? I will drop in a little bit about shares and why are you getting some money and things like that. And that I can handle. It's not a problem. But there is a lady who wrote a book, and she's in the GT area, and she is pushing that kids need to learn to budget, and that we just have to teach them, we have to show them how to save their money. Well, I have had this old adage because kids will go, well, you're supposed to teach this to me. I'll go, no, I am the teacher. I'm supposed to present the information, hopefully in as many interesting, different ways as plausibly possible, so you can learn it. It's up to you to learn the material. I can't split your head open, guys, and pour the information in. I can't. So it's my job as the teacher to present the information. So I can present it, but I can't pound it into their heads to budget. That's up to them. And every single person is different. So yes, let us introduce our children, our teenagers, to saving. And literally, I have done it since my kids were this high. I lived in northwestern Ontario. They wanted to go down and see their aunt, and we would draw a little map. It was a really bad map. From where we lived down to Thunder Bay. And we would go out and collect beer bottles and wine bottles and take them into the local community, and they would pay the kids 10 cents a bottle, I think it was. And we would color it up. Okay, we're to here, and we're to here, and we're to here, until we got from where we lived down to their aunt's. I said, okay, now we can go. And so they learned that way. But to sit there and do what this person is telling them to do, that they have to sit down and look at the different interest rates and plan for their university or their college or their first house, it's like they're 15, they're 16, they're 18. Right now they're 18, they're trying to figure out how they can go get a beer. They're trying to figure out if the boy next to them thinks they're cute, or if the girl next to them thinks they're cute. They're worried about social skills. They're worried about how they fit in. They're worried about how to go from being that cute, naive little person to being an adult that can take care of themselves. And because they're so connected to the internet and social media, they're seeing all this stuff that us adults see. They're still teenagers. Teenagers are teenagers are teenagers. I look at teenagers now in 2025, and they're going through the same shit and hell and crap I went through 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, I didn't have to deal with all of this other crap. I didn't have to deal with cost of living. I didn't have to deal with their neighbor or their friends. Daddy just bought them a brand new whatever. They didn't have to deal with seeing it in their face all the time about the geopolitical stress. These kids are seeing this all the time now. They're dissing and ripping against Tesla because Elon Musk is a complete idiot. Only they're not understanding that Tesla is an electric car that puts less strain on the oil industry so that the oil can be used for other things like heating our homes. We need to let our teenagers be teenagers. And so my other point here is that not everybody is going to develop into being this budgeting person who's wonderful and fantastic with their money. Do I need to introduce them to interest rates and all the rest of it? Yes. But this lady was pushing, and she's written a book, and it was on the CBC Current. If you ever want to find the book, I was driving when I was listening to her, so I wasn't about to write it down. That every child needs to learn to budget, and every child needs to learn to. Some people just can't do it. It's a reality check. My mother-in-law my in-laws were lousy. They got money, go spend it. The house is falling apart. Well, I don't have any money, so the house has to fall apart. They wouldn't think to save it. I grew up with my parents who literally saved for everything. If they didn't have the money, they didn't buy it. They had an account for buying a new car. I once asked, why didn't you pay off the house faster? She said, my mom said, because the interest rate on the house is so low, it's not worth it. It's better for me to put the money into some investment and make more money in investment than it was to pay off the house. So, but that was my mom. That's what I'm like. Where my ex-husband, no, he's terrified to spend money, like a big purchase, to buy a house, even though he could have afforded it. He would never have bought a house. And he was in a townhouse that went out for sale. I said, buddy, why don't you buy it? Then you'll have an asset. That's a lot of money, Bev. But then you have a house that's your own. You're already paying for heat and hydro. You're already paying for the phone. You're already paying for all those utilities. Buy it, the house. And he couldn't do it. And even now, that he's retired, it's like, well, I want to buy a house. Then go buy a house. Well, no, that's too much money. So my point is, it's got nothing to do with our kids now. It's a mentality. Where my oldest and my grandson, who I classify my youngest, so one's 40, will be 41 this year, and the other one will be 21 this year. Both of those are little savers. But they're reasonable savers. They live life to the fullest, planning for tomorrow in remembrance of yesterday. So they learn from their mistakes, but they're not going to sit there and not enjoy life because perhaps they can buy a house tomorrow. So when my grandson lost one of his jobs, not the job he's in now, but the last job, because the restaurant closed, he was like, shit, but he was okay because he knew he had several $1,000s saved up from when he was working, because he'd always put money away. If he sees a game, he's got the money. But at the same time, he buys the game. He doesn't spend his savings. That's healthy, but that's 2 of my 5. So my point here is, just let our teenagers be teenagers. If they're going to figure it out, they'll figure it out. If they're not going to figure it out, it doesn't matter how much you pound it into their heads. They're not going to figure it out. So please, teach them, moms, dads, and grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, teach them by example. Don't expect other people to do it, and don't expect them to instantaneously get it and do it themselves. Show them by example. Show them by not wasting. show them by how you treat other people, how you approach money. Because there's only so much us teachers can do. And how many times have teachers sat here and we've rolled our eyes? They didn't teach us that last year. Yes, they did. And you look at students and you go, you learned it long enough for the test, didn't you, honey? And you go, well, yeah, because their point is they only need to learn it for the test. So these financial units we're teaching in high school, grades 9, 10, 11, if it's called grade 11 college, the kids are learning it long enough to pass the test. If they're really learning it, it's because they interested them and mommies and daddies there supporting them. So what's my short and curlies? Take care of your mental health, because it's affecting all of us, from my young kids who are in grade 3 and 5 up to my high school students. And they are stressed out. And let them be teenagers. Let them be kids, because they're never going to be a teenager again. They're never going to be a little person again. So let them just be kids and let them live today to their fullest. Help them plan for tomorrow. But understand how they see the world and what they want to do with it is their thing. Don't expect them to do this just because you want them to do it. Just let them enjoy their life. Because the stress on them right now, like, teenagers haven't changed. What I see with my teenagers now as I teach them is the exact same shit I went through as a teenager, what my kids went through as a teenager, what my grandson went through as a teenager, and now my kids that I'm teaching and working with who are 14 and 15 and 16, it's all the same. But our kids now have more on their plates because of all the crap that's going on in the world and because they're connected to social media. I've ranted enough. You guys have a really good day. We'll see you next time.